spectacles for your Snapchatting are coming to a robot vending machine near you. Nathan Olivares-Giles from the Wall Street Journal has his review of the new DayDream VR headset. And Kyle Wiens from iFixit lets us look inside the new MacBook Pro. All that and a whole lot more coming up on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1639, recorded Thursday, November 10th, 2016.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron will send you fresh, high-quality ingredients to cook delicious meals with simple step-by-step instructions right to your door. See what's on the menu this week and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/twit. That's blueapron.com/twit.
And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century with a fast, easy, and completely online process. Check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT.
And by LinkedIn Learning and lynda.com. Develop talent and keep skills current with expert-led on-demand e-learning. To request a demo for your organization or get a free individual trial, visit learning.linkedin.com/twit. Welcome to Tech News Today. This is the show where we talk about technology and Jason dances.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you just gotta feel it to get your mood up, get in the right frame of mind for some tech news.
I think I'm already in the right frame of mind. I'm Megan Maroney.
And I'm Jason Howell. I'm sure there's a better nickname for my amazing dance moves, but I don't know what it is. Let's talk about technology and not dancing, please. I'm going to embarrass myself. A recurring theme this year has been Facebook's algorithmic selections of stories and updates that users see in their news feeds. Once it was curated by humans, now it's done by robots behind the scenes, but no one seems satisfied with how it's being handled. One big challenge is the dissemination of false news through the platform, and many argue that at least a part of Tuesday's outcome could have been crafted by misinformation that rose to the top of the news feed thanks to those mechanical choices by Facebook bots. Facebook VP of Product Management Adam Mosseri told TechCrunch that it takes gaming of their system very seriously, and Facebook is investigating ways to better detect misinformation, which, I mean, the statement was more of what we already kind of have heard Facebook say is, yeah, we really need to improve this. We really need to do better. I just don't know. Like, obviously, more and more we're seeing that people are dissatisfied with this aspect. But then there's a whole group of other people that don't actually know, aren't aware that this is happening behind the scenes. They see what they see.
Yeah. I mean, let's just be honest. Facebook isn't the only place where people are disseminating fake news or saying things that aren't true. And I mean, if Facebook had a role in the results of this election, I think it's very, very small. Yeah. I think it's probably very comforting for people who are sad to blame this on Facebook, but I do not. I mean, there are people that are just really, really angry in this country, and I think that's why they voted. People are feeling disenfranchised. I think it's much more complicated, but much more true to, I think, blame globalization for the results of this election. And that it's confusing, and people, it's harder to put your arms around the fact of where jobs are going, who they're going to. And so I just think also the candidate can be blamed. The candidate that didn't win, I think, can also be blamed. It was just a status quo candidate. So I don't think that has anything to do with Facebook. And so, that's all I'll say about politics. But I do think that Facebook should do better. But we, as a people, should also do better about checking what we read and seeing if it's true or not, and telling our friends and our family and our children to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the topic of, or the terminology of filter bubble, which I hadn't really heard prior. I guess is from a book that apparently I need to read. But the filter bubble that basically keeps people locked into their own view. And that's one thing that I feel like I've learned through this experience. And we have talked about this many times leading up to now on the show. Facebook wanting to do better with it. The fact that the algorithm manages what you see, so you don't see every single thing, and maybe it's closer to what you would want. It's kind of like ads that show you what you want, and that's all based on data that you fed to it. And I feel like what I've come to realize in this case is that I don't necessarily want that. I feel artificially shielded from things right now when it comes to Facebook. And it makes me not want to use it because it feels so artificial. It feels like all I'm seeing is this single viewpoint, nothing outside of that. And I know for a fact that there are plenty of viewpoints outside of that that I'm not seeing. And that just makes, I don't know, makes me feel like a child.
Yeah.
You know
No,
what
I
I mean?
agree. I think we'd all be happier if we spent less time on Facebook. Like,
Believe me, I considered it. I've considered like taking a break from social for a
yeah,
little
I
while.
don't think, I mean, I'm not saying everyone should give up on Facebook, but like for sure, everyone would feel better if they spent a little bit less time on Facebook.
Yeah, a little bit more time being connected with their lives.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, and I think that, you know, the personal is political. Like, I didn't make that up. That's a phrase that's been around for a long time, and I agree with it. And Facebook is very personal. And for them to think that they can't get political, that an algorithm can do this, we've just seen time and time again that it cannot. You know, there was a story in Wired today about the safety check. And, you know, we talked about that last year when the first safety check in the United States that they did, or the first safety check that they did, yes, I think to United States viewers users was the bombing in France, and everyone complained about that. Like, hey, there were no, it was the first safety check that was done that wasn't a natural disaster. Was the bombing in France,
Yep,
and a lot of people said like, hey, there were 3 other ISIS bombings this weekend, and you didn't cover those. And
So
why was that? And it's because a person chose. And so they said, okay, well, let's just let the algorithm do it. And you know, I just see that that's going to be problematic as well.
Yeah, because it's almost like it's like we can't figure out how to make everyone happy, so let's put the onus on a computer to do it for us, and then we always have an excuse for this to be like, yeah, well, it wasn't really us, it was our algorithm, and we're always working on our algorithm, so maybe someday our algorithm will be perfect, but right now it's not. And you understand, because technology, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, what Mark Zuckerberg says is like, if you waited for everything to be perfect, you'd never launch anything. Like, perfect's the enemy of you know, or speed is the enemy of good, or perfect is the enemy of good. I get good is the enemy of, I don't know what it is, but it's something that
something is definitely
speed
the
is the enemy of
else.
Truth. I'm spouting a lot of cliches. Let's move on. President-elect Donald Trump appears to be good for the stock market as a whole, but not so good for tech stocks. The Dow is up for the 2nd day in a row, but the so-called Trump bounce seems to be more like a Trump kick in the pants for Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Yahoo, Netflix, and Twitter. An analyst told Business Insider that the tech sell-off is due to fears that inflation might be higher under Trump. There's also Trump's views on protectionism, stricter immigration policies. Those kinds of things mean more right now to tech investors than his pro-business policies, which are the ones that are pushing the rest of the Dow up. Business growth-friendly policies also have a better chance of being enacted in a Republican-controlled Congress. So I think that is good news, because tech is business. So I don't know where this real disconnect is coming. But you know, GoPro is one of the big droppers also, and I think that has nothing to do with Trump.
Even though it happened the same day, because they tried to bury it.
Yeah. Yes.
They tried to bury that announcement.
Let's blame Facebook for the GoPro recall. No, we can't do that either.
Yeah, let's blame their algorithm for that.
Yes.
We can't really actually do that.
No. So that was the recall. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think also a part of this, my guess is that there's also a lot of questions to be figured out over the course of the however many months and into the next 4 years at least, as far as what business as usual actually is for technology companies based in the U.S. You know, so many of these companies, like some of them are considering moving their data centers offshore because, you know, based on what President-elect Trump has said in the past, makes them think that if they keep it here, then all that data information eventually would be just, you know, free and clear for accessing for whatever reason. Some are urging companies like Google and Facebook to wipe their data on users clean because they're afraid about what that data could actually be done. And obviously that's not an easy thing to do, right? Their businesses are they're billion-dollar companies because they're based on using that data for advertising and all sorts of other things. So that's not easy, but it's a consideration, let's say. Questions about security of those projects, intelligence, you know, intelligence requirements to peer into those technologies, all these things that we've been talking about all year, that these technology companies have been very focused on securing and protecting users and all this kind of stuff. And there's a lot of uncertainty as far as what they are going to be beholden to once Trump does become president. And so I think that has to be at least part of this. Investors are like, well, this could actually fundamentally really change a lot of the mechanisms behind a lot of the really powerful technology companies.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting because I think there are people who were like very disappointed when Trump got elected, but then those people also were like, oh, but the Dow's up, and it's just that constant like battle between like the capitalism and democracy, like what is more important to us. So, and I'm not an economist, so I won't say anything more about that.
There we go. Let's talk about the EU. The European Union charged back in April that Google's market dominance with Android stifles competition by forcing manufacturers to pre-install Google services into the OS while keeping competitors out. Google now defends its open source OS by comparing it against Apple and Microsoft and what they've done with theirs, showing how each of those mobile platforms, the majority of pre-installed apps and services there are provided by the company behind the hardware. They're saying, well, we're doing the same thing here. Google argues that the EU's claims seem to imply that Android and iOS aren't, in fact, competitors, which it says is missing the point of why the smartphone landscape is so competitive right now. The EU is likely to impose substantial fines if Google is found to be guilty of wrongdoing, the antitrust and all that kind of stuff.
Now, do you personally think that Android has hurt competition or helped competition?
Well, I mean, I think the challenge of this argument, and by the way, this is not the only time, this is in Russia, there was a charge, and that's kind of, in process right now. Google is appealing a similar case in Russia. There, the fine is $6.8 million. So there's obviously, there's repeated concern about this. Google's kind of, response is, well, we have Android that has all of our services baked into it. We also have Android that doesn't, and you're free to use either one. If you want to use the one that doesn't have our services, that's great. You can do whatever you want. Throw Bing in the search bar, completely throw it topsy-turvy and replace all of our services with something else. Use that, and you've got it. Personally, I think that's pretty fair, but I'm also, I'm also a pretty big all-in on Google sort of fan and user. So I enjoy the services that I get from Google, and if for me to consider getting a version of Android that didn't have that just wouldn't feel the same to me. Is that anti-competitive? Maybe for other Android devices, perhaps, but I feel like they're all doing it. Like, they're all figuring it out. If that's what they really want to do, they can release a version with all of their stuff baked into it. Is it popular because people want the Google services? Like, maybe that's the bigger problem. People just really want Google's services, and so they want Google's version, and that's what everybody's upset about.
Right. Like, no one's forced to buy an iPhone. No one's forced to buy a particular Android phone. And to me, it's like it looks to me from my eyes that they've done a good thing for competition, because there are so many different kinds of Android phones. But I'm not in the EU. Android has 80% of the world's smartphones, and that's an even bigger percentage in the EU. So it might feel different there. Like,
you're right.
So I don't know. But I mean, what they say is, like, if they say, like, nothing is keeping you from installing all these other apps on Android or using a different version of Android, nothing was keeping anyone from installing a different browser on Windows in the 90s, and they still, like, Microsoft still lost their antitrust case. So yes, it makes sense to me, but if you look at history, that's not enough to be able to. It's like, Microsoft got in trouble for pre-installing Internet Explorer, and people didn't think they had a choice. They didn't know they had a choice.
And then finally, at the end of the day, when you first installed Windows going forward, I seem to remember this like menu that pops up of which browser do you want? And I'm trying to think of an analog to this in the Android world, if that were to be the case, and I can't imagine what that would be like. But yeah, I mean, forcing a lot of this other stuff onto has its own unintended consequences too. It might satisfy certain things for the EU as far as their kind of ideas of what is anti-competitive behavior for Android, but it also I don't know, it broadens fragmentation. Let's say if now suddenly you're forced to support services that are baked into how Android works at its core, which is probably at the heart of what this complaint is about. If Google search is baked so deeply into Android that removing that and replacing it with Bing makes Android not work as well, then maybe that is an issue. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if you are having trouble seeing this world through rose-colored glasses, you are in luck. You can very soon buy spectacles from the newly renamed company Snap, makers of Snapchat. The spectacles are making an auspicious debut in giant yellow vending machines called Snapbots. The machines are traveling across the country, and you can track them from the Spectacles website or an app. A special geo-filter will also appear when the Snapbot is near you.
There's a Snapbot nearby.
Don't get me excited because it's not.
That's true. Sorry.
It's outside of LA, outside of the Snap headquarters right now. The glasses take pictures and video from your point of view. They cost $130 if you buy them from the big yellow robot. And I think this is clearly exactly what we need to distract our nation from the fact that none of us seem to agree on anything.
I don't know. I think this is a clever way to roll out the product. At the very least, it's a clever way to gauge interest. And that's been the question is $130 glasses tied to Snapchat. Is there actually a market for these goofy looking glasses with a camera built inside of them? Granted, they're putting these things right out in front of, right out near their headquarters in LA, which in a part of LA that is very much the technology, it's kind of like the Silicon Valley of LA, more or less. So they're going to get pretty good uptake, I think, right out of the gate because of that fact.
Well, there were lines.
I know. There were really long lines.
Yeah, said there were lines that they were running out, and she I don't think she even got one. You said you saw them, like people were selling them on eBay for way more than $130.
Yeah, they're already on eBay. Bids are placed already up around $500 for many of these. Buy it nows are placed at $1,000, but really you could put a buy it now anywhere, or the buy it now option to bypass the bidding. So, I mean, the prices are all over the place. But I mean, the minimum bid, and I imagine 15 hours, so that's like a day's worth of bid. That's already at $600. These suckers are moving apparently, because it's limited supply. You can only right now get them if you happen to be at this particular location in LA. But this actually, like, the amount of traffic at the vending machines or the Snapbots, whatever you want to call them, is one indicator. How much they actually end up selling for on eBay is another great indicator. What are people outside of these markets willing to do to get their hands on this?
Anything,
apparently.
Okay, so Beatmaster posted a link to Tom Merritt's tweet with a line for the spectacles. And man, there are a lot of 27-year-old white guys in that line. A lot of them.
And they all want spectacles.
They all appear to look like tech reporters.
Okay.
But, I don't know. I mean, I got to say, like, I want to see if the 13 and 14 and 15-year-old ones, if they want them. I don't know. Like, they might love them, they might hate them, but I think that's the market. That's the market for these. So in case you haven't, I mean, they take video and pictures. You have to have an iPhone 5 or higher, Android devices, Android 4.3 or above with BLE and Wi-Fi Direct. And so the next location that it will be at will be.
Where is it? Where is it?
It's shared 24 hours before landing there. So I hope it is really delivered by balloons, as I'm made to believe by watching these marketing videos. I don't know. I mean, this story just kind of makes me sad because I just feel like now more than ever we need to be awake and paying attention to the important things and not just like, look what I can take a picture with my
everybody's got their own thing though. This is a product that we've been waiting for. I don't know. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but
everybody should have my thing.
Please have their product. And it's almost Christmas. I mean, you got to get these, right?
Right.
You got to get them all in all colors. That's important. The Oculus Rift is getting some important updates, the first of which will improve the fluidity of animations running at half the normal frame rate, a feature called Asynchronous Spacewarp that was first announced last month at Oculus Connect. That's handy because it actually enables the Oculus Rift to run on cheaper PCs with a classic graphics card that's lower than was required before this. Now, a GTX 960 card and an i3 processor can get you in the door for Oculus Rift. That's a step down from the previous requirement of an NVIDIA GTX 970 and Intel Core i5 processor. That means very soon you can pick up a pre-built $499 CyberPower PC desktop to get started. About half the cost of what machines were going to be costing prior to this update. So yeah, the bar is lowered a little bit.
Yeah, but not as low as like DayDream VR, which is also what we're going to talk about. Yeah, different class. But it's lower, but you still need to get the Rift, which is $600.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a $500 PC and a $600. And if you want the controllers, it's $798.
Which you want the controllers.
You do. So yeah, I read some about this, the Asynchronous Spacewarp. Very fascinating. When you start to get into the technical, even just the for regular people, technical aspects of this, it just reminds you of how much engineering is behind VR,
sure.
how much math, how much it is. We make fun of it a lot, but there are a lot of hard-working, smart people that make this stuff work. So yeah, it's exciting. It's not my thing, but could be your thing.
Could be my thing, although I'll be getting the DayDream here very soon. So that would be a good intermediate step, I think, to be my thing.
Yeah, we got a lot of things that you wear on your face today on the show of varying prices. So, there's the $79 DayDream VR. There's the $130, if you can get it, spectacles, or the $1,200 Oculus. So, yeah. Everybody's got their thing.
That they wear on their face.
Everybody's got the thing that they wear on the face, exactly. DayDream VR, as we've said, is here. Nate Olivares-Giles from the Wall Street Journal has some feelings about it. But first, let's take a minute to thank Blue Apron, the sponsor of this episode. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone while supporting a more sustainable food system, setting the highest standards for ingredients, and building a community of home chefs. Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with fresh, high-quality ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Each meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe card and pre-portioned ingredients that can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. You can save time and money. Shopping at the grocery store is 60% more expensive than Blue Apron. If you spend a lot of time eating out, or if you shop a lot at high-end grocery chains, you can now spend under $10 per person for healthy, home-cooked meals. That will be better on your pocketbook and on your diet. Customize your recipes every week based on your dietary preferences and choose a delivery option that fits your needs. There's no weekly commitment, so you only get deliveries when you want them. Blue Apron delivers to 99% of the continental U.S. They set the highest quality standards for their community of over 150 local farms, fisheries, and ranchers across the United States. So here's a little bit about their standards. Seafood is sourced sustainably. Beef is raised humanely. Chickens are free-range. Pork is raised naturally. And regenerative farming practices are used for produce. By shipping the exact amount required for the recipe, Blue Apron is reducing food waste. So whether it's Japanese ramen noodles, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, or heirloom tomatoes, Blue Apron brings you the best. Blue Apron not only supports a more sustainable food system, it supports happy and healthy families. New recipes are created every week by Blue Apron's culinary team and are not repeated within a year. So here's what's on the menu this week. Pan-seared chicken with roasted fall vegetables and butter caper sauce, spicy lotus root and purple carrot stir-fry with sweet potato noodles, lemongrass roasted pork with Romanesco cauliflower, and coconut rice. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/twit. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. Visit blueapron.com/twit, and we thank Blue Apron for their support of tech news today. Google's $79 DayDream View VR headset is out today, and Nathan Olivares-Giles from the Wall Street Journal just posted his review. Welcome back to the show, Nathan.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
So you say the best thing about this smartphone-powered headset is the controller. Tell us about the controller.
Yeah, I have it right here. It's actually about the size of maybe like a Twinkie cut in half. And it's fantastic. And I really wish that this sort of thing existed for Gear VR and other, mobile-focused headsets. But it's really simple. There's a touchpad up top. There are a couple buttons. There's a volume rocker. And with this, you can actually control characters in games. With this, you can actually move around scenes and move around menus. And it just really kind of opens up a whole new level of possibility for what you can do in VR. It's more than just something pretty to look at. And I should specify, mobile VR. This is not the level of sophistication or precision you're going to get on Oculus or HTC Vive.
So does the headset itself work any differently than the mobile VR headsets we've seen before? Do you just stick your phone in and go?
No, it's exactly the same. You just put your phone inside the headset, and then you just strap it on. And what's nice about it is it's really, really comfortable. It's pliable, and it's made of some cloth. And you can actually take out the piece inside that sits on your face, and you can wash it. So it works exactly the same as the others, and it's just a little bit lighter and a little bit more comfortable to wear.
I have to ask you real quick about this cloth face thing, because when I was at VRDC, I got to try one on for about 5 minutes, and right at the beginning of the demo, the Google representative, as she was handing it to me, said, "And I apologize because it's kind of wet," which basically meant that enough people had tried it on that their heads had sweated, and it was in fact damp on my face. Did you experience this at all?
I did not. I've been using this for about a week, and the cloth never got wet.
Okay, good.
I wasn't sweaty when I was using it. Now, maybe it was just because there were a lot of VR folks running around trying to try a lot of things all on at once.
Pretty sure.
The longest I used it in a kind of ongoing time period was about an hour. Normally, I'm only playing for about 30 to 45 minutes. It really does suck the life out of your battery pretty well. But in those times, I never really got sweaty, and thankfully, it feels a little bit more breathable because it's made of cloth than what I'm used to with Oculus, PlayStation VR, things like that. Part of it is because the phone, it gets hot as you're playing, but it doesn't get as hot as the higher resolution displays and better sensors, more sensors that you're going to get in PlayStation VR or Vive or Oculus, things like that. But honestly, if you're playing long enough for it to get sweaty, that might be a good time to take a break, I'm thinking.
I'd say so. Life tips, important life tips today.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, pro tips here,
Well, Creamy Corncob in our chat room said about the controller, just another thing to lose. But as we saw that video that you did, it slips right into the device itself.
This is one of my favorite parts. So right here, there's this elastic band, and that's where the controller just slides in here. So when you close it up, you don't lose it. And it's just a really simple, smart idea. And it's also, for someone like me who is a little bit OCD with their desk and their, bedroom and stuff, and wants everything to be clean all the time, it gives you somewhere to put it. So I really appreciate that. And I'm really hoping that others like Samsung, rip off the idea of removable and washable face pieces, the controller, and somewhere to stow the controller. I mean, it's really smart.
Mm-hmm. I think we've discussed on this show before that it's a bit sexist because they haven't really thought about, anyone who doesn't include, the washable face mask, they haven't thought about those of us who wear makeup.
That's a good point. I actually talked to Google. One of my few complaints with the DayDream View headset is that you put it on and there's no band over the top of your head. Mm-hmm. And so then as tight as you can get this thing, I found that if you're moving around like crazy in different games or whatever, which doesn't happen that often, it can slide off your face. It kind of feels like it's moving down a little, which was bothersome to me. Now, this was super, super rare, but it happened once or twice. And I asked Google about this, and they actually said that they didn't want to put a band over the top because it would mess up everyone's hair, and that they were thinking about both men and women in that case. So they say that they're trying to be as accommodating to as wide a swath of the population as possible. But yeah, that's a fair point. This being cloth will definitely get mucked up by some makeup, but it is washable. We'll see how much it stains or not, but at least there's that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, even on the Gear VR, you have the option to put the top of the head strap on. So it's kind of strange that they didn't at least just include it as here's a loop up here and a mechanism that ties it back there if you want it.
I agree. I'm hoping in future generations there'll be something they add. Granted, Gear VR is made of harder plastic.
Sure.
And it costs $100. And it has, a touch panel built into the side of the headset. I don't like that touch panel as much as I like this controller. But the fact of the matter is that this is a cheaper headset. It's $80. Not that much cheaper, but significant. And there's less material to it. There's less plastic here. I prefer the pliability of it and the softness that the cloth allows, the kind of fabric feel that it has. But Gear VR is built of a different sort of material, and and you can kind of feel that. I think it's worth the trade-offs.
So did you use it with a Pixel, and can you use it right now with anything else?
You can't use it with anything right now that isn't a Pixel or Pixel XL, and I did use it with a Pixel. In the future, Google says that there will be a wide range of flagship smartphones, Android smartphones, that are DayDream compatible. And they say they have Samsung and Xiaomi and Huawei and LG and HTC on board. Basically every major, ZTE is there too, every major Android handset maker, I think outside of Sony, that you could possibly want is making, in the future, a DayDream compatible headset. Now, we'll see, how this takes off and whether or not that actually pans out. I hope it does, because if that is the case, then this will be the most accessible headset that you can buy for mobile VR. And that's an exciting proposition. It doesn't work with iPhones, which really sucks, I think, personally. But, Google is creating a performance standard here, or a display resolution standard here, and they have to meet certain spec requirements to be DayDream certified. So right now it's just the Pixel, but, if everything comes around the way that Google wants it to be, then you won't have to be locked into just one phone manufacturer. You can use this headset for years across different manufacturers, and that's something that Samsung obviously can't provide.
So what games did you play with it?
Oh, there were a few. There was one that's called Wonder World, and it's basically like a bunch of like mini games. I play like a mini golf game, and then there's like a fire hose sort of situation where like you're extinguishing burning buildings. There's a Harry Potter related like kind of experience called Fantastic Beasts. I guess it's the new Harry Potter film. There's a lot of actual stuff on YouTube there. BuzzFeed has some videos. Tastemade had some cooking videos. And there's kind of an interactive museum app that Google's calling Arts and Culture, which is really cool. And there are some kind of fantasy angled games as well. One of which I played. Let me look here. It's called. I gotta say I wasn't a big fan of it. Mechorama. I played Mechorama, which is basically you have like a little robot who's moving through 360-degree world. It's kind of like Monument Valley, and that was pretty fun. Hunter's Gate. That's kind of like a fantasy game, and I just really wasn't into it. But if you like something like Skyrim, this is kind of maybe a mobile version of something that takes place in a similar universe. And there's also a Wall Street Journal app as well. I wasn't involved in that, but some folks on our virtual reality side had early access to their platform and built an app for it. The Guardian also has a news app. So there's a lot of stuff at launch. Before the end of the year, Google says there will be 50 apps that work with DayDream, and every single one of those will work with this DayDream controller. That's one of the requirements. I'd like to see a lot of stuff ported over from Gear VR and Cardboard. One of my favorite VR apps is Within, and it's basically documentary films. It used to be called Verse, and they changed the name recently, and I'd really like to see some sort of DayDream compatibility there. Now, it doesn't work with the DayDream controller, but since the headset is basically just plastic cloth and lenses, it will work with the headset. You just have to open up that specific VR app, and then you put your phone in, and you're good to go.
Does the Wall Street Journal app let you pretend that you're Nathan from the Wall Street Journal and you get to play with all these things?
that is not one of that is not one of the features. It's actually centered around exploring financial markets. So there's kind of like a interactive fever chart that you can move in 360 degrees to see different graphs and, different things like move up and down depending on the performance of different stock markets. But no, there is no Nathan features. But, I like that idea. I wouldn't mind a game, although people might be a little disappointed in how not exciting my life is at sometimes, but I do get to play with a lot of cool toys. So.
It could get really meta when inside the Wall Street Journal VR game, you are Nathan putting on DayDream View and playing the Wall Street Journal VR game.
That would be really meta, especially for me sitting in my apartment. So it's something to think about.
All right. Well, definitely. Hopefully you'll come back on if that's part of the DayDream app. Thank you so much, Nathan. It's as a reporter at the Wall Street Journal, a tech reporter. You can check him out there, Nate OG on Twitter. Thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, always a pleasure. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks again, Nathan. All right, Daniel from Cincinnati wrote into TNT at twit.tv to say, episode 1636 gave me an idea for a technology mashup I would like to see. You reported that Brian Kane hacked together a big mouth Billy Bass with an echo to make the fish talk and move while interacting with Alexa. Instead of the big mouth Billy Bass, I want to have Max Headroom as my Alexa head. But since Alexa is not the right voice for Max Headroom, in episode 1635, you reported on Adobe showing off Project Voco that actively synthesizes anyone's voice, making someone say things they never actually said. So with 20 minutes of Max Headroom speech fed into Project Voco, we can now make Max Headroom be my Alexa in Max Headroom's own voice. Pair that with a computer that could create its own movie with video fed into it. We have brand new motions for Max 2. That would be awesome. Our own live Alexa Headroom. What do you think?
I think
this
it's
something you have to have?
Definitely something I have. I mean, I love the emails that we get because, I mean, do it.
Yeah, make it happen and then shoot a video of it. Send it to us, TNT at twit.tv, and we'll play it on the show. Up next, iFixit, the folks from iFixit join us to take a look inside one of the new MacBook Pros. Did they find innovation hidden inside the case? We'll tell you all about that. Or courage, yes. But first, let's take a minute to thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. They are the sponsor of this episode. You're super awesome at finding a great home for you and your family. But if you're like me, maybe you aren't super awesome at all the little funky details along the way, particularly when you have to collect all of that information in order to fill out the paperwork required to apply for the mortgage. It's kind of like you'd rather step into a time machine and skip ahead to the point where you walk through the front door and you say, I'm home. Paperwork be damned. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. So it takes all the pain points out of this and makes it easy for you. It's fast, powerful, and completely online. Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. So if you hate searching through stacks of old files and paperwork, with Rocket Mortgage, you can easily share your bank statements and your pay stubs at the touch of a button. That's going to help you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. And even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or your tablet. You don't need to go digging anymore. It's a quick online process that you can manage from the convenience of your couch. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT. That's quickenloans.com/TNT. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support. All right, the new 2016 MacBook Pro is starting to get prepped for shipping to those who ordered online. I know in our house, we're going to be getting the one with a touch bar. But joining us to talk about what it's like to tear apart the 13-inch MacBook Pro is Kyle Wiens from iFixit. How's it going, Kyle?
Awesome. Great to see you.
Good to have you back, sir. So, Kyle, this is not the one with the touch bar. That's the one we're getting in our home. Sounds like you're going to have that coming somewhere down the line. I want one.
Yes. We just haven't been able to get our hands on one yet. Apple's not shipping them quite yet.
Yeah, but you got your hands on the 13-inch with the function keys.
I do. I have it here. In pieces.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering. Well, one of my questions was, did you put it back together and did it work? I'm assuming that is no.
Here it is, and no, we haven't got around to it yet. People always say, like, what do you think about it? I don't know. I didn't turn it on.
What, am I supposed to turn it on? What?
Right, I know. You're one of the only people that buys one of these things and never turns it on. I mean, is this very different from MacBooks that you've taken apart in the past?
The trackpad wasn't screwed in. There we go. No, this is a hybrid between the MacBook technology and the previous generation Retina MacBook Pro. I'm kind of surprised that it took them this long to come out with this product. It doesn't feel that revolutionary to me. You've got not very much key travel on the keyboard, but I mean, you look inside. I mean, it's kind of a similar architecture inside. I've got the battery here. Removing the battery is a major challenge on these things. You can see the amount of glue that we have to deal with when we're prying this thing up. So you would think that with the amount of money that they had, they'd figure out a way to make this thing easier to recycle, but they didn't. So no, it feels like a marriage between the previous MacBook Pro and the new MacBook.
Kind of like everybody expected us to get a new laptop out. Man, they keep asking us, whatever, just take that one. Let's pull some parts out, replace them with new ones, and put it out. No one will know the difference except for iFixit, of course.
Right. And there are some areas where, so I've got the fan here, and they talk about the asymmetric, so the distance between the blades and the fan. I'm sure there's an incredibly sophisticated algorithm behind it. It's a little bit hard to reverse engineer that algorithm by looking at it. You can see it's a pretty thin fan.
That's crazy.
It's cool. It's really cool, and it's very thin, and I'm sure that from a thermal management perspective, it's pretty dang slick. I don't know if Steve Jobs is spinning in his grave that there's still fans in Apple laptops. He doesn't like fans very much, but here we are. This is a very, very quiet fan. Doesn't need to move a lot of air, and I mean, Apple was bragging about their advanced thermal management techniques. I don't know. It's a fan that maybe is cool. This is actually surprisingly heavy. This is the heatsink from it. And you notice the kind of interesting rectangular shape to the heatsink. That's because on the circuit board here you have this guy here. So they have several different ICs kind of in one area, and then they're using the same heatsink across all of them to distribute to these heat coils, which the fan blows over the top of.
So the MacBooks have a massive touchpad. Can you tell from taking it apart?
That's now in pieces on the floor.
That's it.
Here it is.
So
kind of compare to the size of my hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's the size of an iPhone, right?
It's big. Yeah, let's look. Here's my iPhone 4. That is awesome. And
I love that you use an iPhone 4.
There you go.
Wow.
Almost two times the size of an iPhone 4.
So could you tell what they made, what they got rid of because of the bigger touchpad, or what changed because the touchpad was bigger?
They didn't really need to. I mean, the touchpad sits on top, and it's not necessarily very thick. So I would say, if anything, it freed up a small amount, or it took up some space inside the case. But I would say in general, no, they could have easily put a trackpad that larger on the other ones. It didn't really take up any additional space. You can see here, it doesn't sit in recessed very far. Yeah. So there is a small amount of battery cost to taking that space, but it's not very much. I mean, they could have made the trackpad 50% bigger on this if they had wanted to. I think it's just a question of how big do you want the trackpad to be? It's already pretty dang big.
Yeah, it is. It is.
My whole hand across it.
What about the SSD? Because I know, when it comes to upgrading, laptops and everything, storage obviously is a big consideration at some point. The storage you have now might not be sufficient 5 years from now or 4 years from now. Is that easy to replace?
Well, and it's not just about that. It's about, imagine that you have a problem like yesterday. My MacBook actually died, and I had another computer in the office, and I was able to take the SSD out of mine, throw it in the other one, and I was good to go in 10 minutes. And now I'm going to go and deal with fixing that thing. So having storage modular is really, really critical, not just for upgradability, but also just for basic troubleshooting. There's a lot of reasons you want storage to be modular. So this is the SSD. It has a proprietary Apple controller on it, and so we're not sure, which means that the controller chip, this is SanDisk Flash, but the controller chip is made by Apple. Remember, they bought Anabit, that Israeli company, a while back. Mm-hmm. So Apple's making the controller, and the question would be, will it be possible for third parties to make a controller that's compatible with this thing? And this, of course, is a proprietary new port design that we haven't seen before. So it's going to be kind of an expensive proposition for somebody to come out with one. I hope that they do, because we'd really like to see a 2 terabyte SSD option in a year or two.
So what about the screws? Are there any new screws, or are they the same as the old one?
Yeah, they're not making life easy on us. There are always lots of challenging screws. They've got pentalobe screws on the bottom of it. I mean, pretty much, I can go into the details on the screws. Just get our newest toolkit, and then you'll have everything you need. I mean, there's a lot of different tool changes that you have to use to pull these things apart.
Yeah, I think I saw in your write-up it was like 5 different types, throughout or whatever. Don't know what
and
you're
that's
gonna
part
get
of why we gave it a low score. We're like, come on, guys. I mean, how many different tools do I have to buy to take something apart? There isn't really a good technical reason for switching screw heads. They could very easily pick one and use that throughout the entire device.
I mean, other than making sure, or at least making more sure, that Apple is who you use or who you go through in order to do any sort of modification or upgrades or anything like that, right?
I mean, I guess that's an idea, but like I'm selling like a lot of screwdrivers. So I think it's really the iFixit Employment Act of 2016.
Fair enough.
I was going to ask,
I'll sell you a new screwdriver.
It's
just
cool,
give me money.
cool. It works for me.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, we sell a lot of screwdrivers to Apple. Like they can't take this stuff apart without my screwdrivers either. So I don't really know what's going on.
So you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but it sounds like repairability, which is kind of a big part of what these walkthroughs are all about, pretty low on this new laptop. Do you kind of expect that to be the case probably with the one with the touch bar as well?
I imagine it'll be similar. It may even be a little bit worse. We've heard some rumors of some challenging tools. So we gave it a 2 out of 10. And this is really a concern. And we've seen this, we rated the existing Retina MacBook Pros very low for repairability. And it's hurt a lot of people because you have a $2,000 computer and one tiny little thing breaks and it's $1,000, $1,500 repair. We're going away from MagSafe on this thing. And so on the circuit board, these are the 2 USB-C ports. And they're kind of cantilevered out here, and they feel pretty fragile to me. Like it's actually flexing as I'm pushing on it here. I can't imagine this thing will survive a very good impact where, I mean, I've tripped over cords all the time, right? And MagSafe has saved me so much. So I'm kind of concerned about this. I have no idea. I can't comprehend why the USB-C ports are soldered onto the board rather than being a separate component. That seems like a much more rational design, especially when you're really cognizant of that as you're removing the MagSafe port.
All
so
right.
I just really don't. I mean, you have clearly there are thousands of man hours of engineering into this thing. There's an incredible amount of care lavished into it. I mean, all of these little parts are so well designed. To have something like that, it's kind of befuddling.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I will let you know how long it takes for us to accidentally kick the port out of operation because yes, the MagSafe has helped me and my wife out plenty of times, and to know that it's not on here kind of makes me a little afraid of the fragility. But
keep it away from your children. Keep it away from your puppies. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Really appreciate you coming on again, Kyle. Kyle Wiens with iFixit. Tell people, I don't know, what you got coming up down the pipeline. Anything you want people to know.
Well, so I can tell you right now, on the other side of that wall, we're taking apart the PlayStation 4 Pro. We're really excited about it. So
nice. That
teardown should be coming tomorrow. And there's lots more. I mean, we're so busy this fall. There's so many new cool gizmos coming out. Can you get me one of the Google VR DayDreams? Those are going to be awesome.
I think what you need to get your hand on are the spectacles, the Snapchat spectacles.
Yes.
I am trying really hard. I have one person who's been calling around all day trying to get one. So if anybody is out there can get us one, we will gladly take it apart. We just need one. We almost drove to Santa Monica this morning, and then we heard the vending machine sold out. Please help me. I need hardware. We'll take it apart and show you.
Well, don't be fooled by the Snapchat filter with the spectacles in it, because I have been fooled by someone having
like, you have it. No, that's just a filter.
That's just a filter. So don't be fooled.
Be careful. Be careful out there.
As soon as I get one, I will take it apart.
All right, sounds good. iFixit.com for all of those teardowns. Really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you again, Kyle. We should also mention that iFixit is a sponsor on the Twit Network, not on TNT right now. We're just really big fans of their work, so I wanted to take a look inside the laptop today. But Megan, we have fans.
TNT's fan of the day is DG Tronic on Twitter, who says, I watch the show every day on my Android TV box.
Yeah.
There we are. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT, record a video, or take a picture of yourself or your setup. Post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, #HowIWatchTNT. We will find it. After the break, it is rough out there on the streets of Petaluma, so I am considering a new iPhone case that doubles as a self-protection device But first, let's take a minute to thank LinkedIn Learning and lynda.com, the sponsor of this episode. The shelf life of skills is less than 5 years, and many of today's fastest growing categories didn't even exist 5 years ago. LinkedIn acquired lynda.com to bring you LinkedIn Learning. It's a personalized, expert-led, on-demand learning, and it's all from LinkedIn. LinkedIn Learning will identify the precise skills that you or your organization needs to achieve set goals, and then they'll create a personalized recommendation using LinkedIn Network Intelligence. Administrators are able to track learner adoption and engagement with at-a-glance analytics and downloadable reports. You'll have access to more than 9,000 courses that are taught by world-class industry experts, people that you want to learn from. So whether you're interested in web design, IT infrastructure, business management, or marketing, their library offers a wide range of business, creative, and technology courses. More than 25 courses are added every week, such as iOS 10 app development essentials and learning Photoshop Elements 15. Topics include technical recruiting, strategic HR, small business marketing fundamentals, media training, inside sales, iOS game development, video editing, and so much more. You can learn anytime, anywhere with segments that can be viewed on any device, online and offline. LinkedIn Learning accommodates all learning styles. Their bite-sized videos provide immediate problem solving, and they're the perfect way to just brush up on the relevant skills without interrupting your latest project. Team solutions are available for as low as $2,000 per year. Grow your network and your career. Visit learning.linkedin.com/twit to get a free individual trial or request a demo for your organization. That's learning.linkedin.com. Don't forget the /twit. We thank LinkedIn Learning for their support of Tech News Today. Yellow Jacket is a smartphone case that doubles as a stun gun. It costs $189. It comes in a rainbow of colors. It was designed by a former U.S. Army soldier, Seth Froome, after he was robbed at gunpoint in his own home. The rubber iPhone case contains a battery pack and electric prongs. It takes about 4 hours to charge, and I'm pretty sure that if I had it, I would for sure accidentally tase myself, because that's the kind of thing I would do. What do you think? iPhone taser case.
I think we need to get one in-house to test it. I just don't know who we test it on. Brian? Oh, yeah, Brian's not here to defend himself. Sure, Brian.
Yes. Anyone who's not here to defend themselves. It's 950,000 volts and 1.3 milliamps. It feels like a very intense bee sting. Yellow Jacket. Oh. We tested tasers on the screensavers. Who was the recipient? I think it was Yoshi, who used to build PCs and was tough, but might have been Patrick Gordon. I just remember I pretended.
Shocked a number of times building PCs.
Yeah. Like I remember I pretended to be tased, but I've never been tased, nor do I want to. But I get fun. If you need, if you feel safer with a taser, why not have one less thing you have to worry about?
Yeah, your phone's gonna be a little bulky, but yeah, not be required to carry around two things, just one device. Sure, why not? Yeah. Oh my God, what is this advertisement? Are you serious? It's not using the phone's battery to do this, right?
No, you have to charge it. You have to charge it. It takes 4 hours to charge. That's right. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see what we can do, and then we'll zap Brian. We'll probably have to do it more than one time because we'll be shooting B-roll. So it's like, all right, Brian, we're going to have to do that again. And he's just going to have to take it because that's just part of the job. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us at tnt@twit.tv. You can leave us a short voicemail at 260-TNT-SHOW. And you can find us on Twitter. We are at Tech News Today TV.
If you're looking for the best way to wish your friends a Merry Twitmas, you can do so with our very own ugly Christmas sweater design. We're offering this exclusive design for a limited time only. Grab yours before November 23rd. You can find it at teespring.com/Twitmas. And if you want to subscribe to our show, you can do that at twit.tv/TNT. And if you want to tweet at me to ask me if I know the difference between a taser and a stun gun, you can find me at Megan Maroney.
I don't know if I know the difference. We'll talk. I'm at, actually, you know what? CC me or add me to your tweet. I'm at Jason Howell on Twitter. Thanks to our technical director, Kara Cole. Thanks to Burke. Thanks to Kevin. Thanks to you. Thanks to this wonderful world that we live in.
And Patrick.
Oh, that's right. Patrick was here earlier. So thanks to Patrick, too. How quickly I forget. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everyone.